I'll call the meeting to order. As directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting people avoid contact within 2 meters with anyone showing symptoms of respiratory illness such as coughing or sneezing. If you are experiencing flu-like symptoms, we are requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I'll introduce the panel members first. I'm Marcel Lonondo. I'll be chairing. Lynn Nesbitt to my left, and Mr. Richard Whitebread to the far left. The assessor today will be Arka Adarka. Say it for me one more. Adarka. And the other assessor will be Ryan. No, he's on the next group. That's right. And the secretary is Kara Belshaw. We will be hearing applications for revision of assessment rule in accordance with the Municipal Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application. We will limit discussions to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony. Anyone speaking to the matter must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to an application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today, and the session will close after the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. First file today will be 3690 Portage Avenue. You want to swear to this?
Please state your name. Do you affirm the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please state your name. Do you affirm the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Arthur, you are ready?
File number 196028. Address 3690 Portage Avenue. Business assessment ID 29661. Business name Destination Mazda. Owners are Destination Motors Incorporated. The premise consists of 7,300 square feet with a base ARV of $13.80 per square foot. Adding occupancy cost, annual rental value $117,480. Premises owner occupied. I would ask the board to confirm the 2020 annual rental value of $117,480. On page 2 of my report are the comparables city uses for auto dealerships. As such properties and auto dealership typical to appears to be very typical in a setup for any dealership with a showroom, garage area, and offices. So our comparables provide, since there is no comparables directly 100% of the vehicle dealerships, we have to resort to the next best option, which is comparable 1 through 27. Retail stores and comparable 29 to 31 are vehicle-related garages. So with that, retail stores would represent the retail section of the business, whereas garages would represent the garage section of the dealership. And on page 2, you can see the average weighted median and weighted average and median for the stores, as well as for the auto-related part of it. So page 3 provides aerial view and street view of subject property. Page 4 and 5 provide page 4 provides interior view of subject property, the showroom side, and page 5 provides exterior view of the front side of the building. Last page, page 6, realty board of division order for the subject property, where the realty value was reduced and the decision was based on evidence presented by the applicant. That is all I have. Thank you very much.
Les, any questions?
So your comparisons that you have are showing on page 2. None of the comparisons from number 1 to 27 are auto dealers, right? These are all detailed
They're all details.
details. And then the lower 4 comparisons, those are auto dealerships?
They're not auto dealers, they're auto-related mechanical garages. Just if we can find the correct page here. And,
They're auto related, but they're not dealers. So the auto dealerships that we have here in the city of Winnipeg, are they mostly owner occupied, or are they?
for the most part, they're owner occupied.
So these numbers that you show on page 2 of your brief, I mean, they're not. They're not. The first part of the pages, they're not the auto dealership. The second part, they're auto related. So you don't have any information, any rental information with respect to actual auto dealerships.
That is correct, and that's how it was.
And how much weight are you putting on this data that you showed these 2?
I put also weight on it because there is no evidence otherwise of actual auto dealerships. If there has been, we would have been using it, but because there is no evidence of rates for auto dealerships specifically, we have to resort to this application to establish the value.
So I note that you use a base ARV of $13.80, and many of these net rents that you show here are approaching $20 or even above $20.
Right.
So I don't see the relationship though. So how would you arrive at $13.80?
Okay, so there is also weighting goals. The way weighting goals is that we have to look at subject property being 1988, and the model also takes into consideration the age of the buildings, of course, and unfortunately, that's the information for the age of the building of the comparables. But what I see there is, for example, there is prices of $14 for comparable for retail comparables. For example, comparable number 3, comparable number 4.
Those are outliers, I think, right? I mean,
well,
your medium.
Last new way that he's done.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Otherwise, we're just going to have some mumbo jumbo.
their lower end retail side, as well as on auto parameters for comparables, and we have range of 1250, 13, 1950, and 2516. And when we go back to retail comparables, net prices per square foot, we have a different range. We have a majority of which would appear to look in $17, $18 range, some going over into $20, $25 range, and some are being under 14. So I would have to answer the question in a way that age of the building, quality of the building goes into consideration when the model values auto dealerships. So that is why subject property currently has a base ARV, blended ARV between, because again, the net price here of 1380 is not only the office section of the building and retail and vehicle repair part of the building. It's a blended rate, so it takes into account of higher price per square foot office section, showroom section, office section, and lower price per square foot of repair and garage section of the building, and it blends it together. So for vehicle dealerships, model provides a blended rate, one rate to to umbrella cover the entire building of the vehicle dealerships, and that's why you would see that the price is, as you have suggested, is on the lower end. How it relates? That is how it relates because it blends it together. So, I hope I answered the question.
The board revision order that you attached to your brief shows that the assessed value for the realty was reduced from 1.3 million to 859,000 based on evidence supplied by the applicant. Do you know what evidence the applicant supplied?
Oh, I can tell you one thing. I do not have the. I did not have a chance to look at the entire brief that was provided at the board of division level, so I do not know what evidence was supplied. However, that decision was further appealed to the municipal board by the city of Winnipeg.
So the city Winnipeg appealed it, but as of the current date,
Correct.
this is the actual assessment, 859,000 for this property. And we don't know what the municipal board, of course, will decide.
No, all I know is the value that been appealed, and currently, board of division order has a value of 809,000.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Lynn, any questions?
Yeah, a couple questions. What is the age of this subject property?
1988.
19.
So makes it about 22 years old. Oh, sorry, 32. No, by yes.
32. Yeah. Okay, so in looking at your comparables then, a lot of these were built in the 2000s.
Oh, yes, there is
Only a
age.
couple,
Okay,
right?
I stand corrected, yes.
Pardon me?
I said I didn't have information on the age. There is age. It does provide age, yes.
So based on these comparables then, which a lot of them are in the 2000s, so they're newer, some are about the same, I guess, 1988, 36. What's 3680 Portage Avenue? It's obviously right next door.
Okay, so 680, what number is that?
It's comp 30 in the auto.
Oh, comp 30. So that's a mantle detailing.
Pardon me?
Mantle detailing,
Okay.
part of auto gallery.
All right. And you've had to look at retail and auto, just so I understand it, because there are no leases for dealerships. Okay. So the Board of Revision Realty was reduced. So this reflects that higher value, right? Your rates here reflect the high, not a reduced value per the Board of Revision. They're the higher value, correct? Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Richard,
No questions, thank you.
what year is this one built?
Such property is 1988.
1980. What question for you is on, there's a number of dealerships and they have rents established on them that you use. The auto malls, do they not fall in just because they're auto malls, or? Because you have rents on those, why do you not use any of those?
The answer is I'm not aware of them being, I'll have to look into it. I cannot answer why we are not using it. From what I remember, they are still owner occupied.
They still have a rent value established on them that you're following.
I'm not sure, I cannot answer that question, I don't know.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Les, you're on with your presentation, please.
Thank you. So I went to refer to my brief. And on page 2 of my brief, I do a workup for the ARV, and you notice on the left-hand side, those are figures that the department is using to arrive at their ARV. I'm asking for a reduction in the base ARV to $11 from $13.80. And that would reduce the ARV to 98,185. Now I didn't multiply by 12, so I'm not sure what that number will turn out to be. But the most important issue is the is the base ARV of $11, and the reason that I'm asking for that amount is based on the decision that was made by the Board of Revision in respect to the realty appeal. And you'll note page 3 and 4. I do provide the board order, and you'll note at the bottom of page 3 that the board decided decided to reduce the assessment to $859,000 based on the evidence that is presented by the appellant. And the evidence that was presented by the appellant is the last page of my brief. And the most important is the rate that my appellant was arguing for, and that was $11 per square foot. And then if you apply all the other parameters, the value works out to $859,000. So based on the evidence that was presented by the appellant, asking for the rent to be $11, which the board confirmed, I'm asking for the DA to be reduced to approximately $98,185 based on $11 base rent per square feet. Thank you.
Arca, any questions?
Yes. I noticed in your report there is no comparable rents whatsoever. Do you have any comparable rents?
No, as I was alluding to earlier, that most of these auto dealerships, if not all of them, are owner occupied. So there really isn't anything on the market here in the city of Winnipeg that could suggest what a market rent should be for these properties. But most importantly, I'm asking this board to follow through with respect to the decision made by the previous board for this property.
But do you know what evidence was used in the realty hearings as far as comparable rents presented?
I know. No, I don't. Although I do have a copy of the brief here. I didn't present it to the board because I didn't think that was important. I think the most important, I guess, piece of evidence is the decision made by the Board of Revision in respect to the realty appeal.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Lynn?
You have any questions?
Richard?
I have none, thanks.
No, I'm good.
I just want to clarify something with the appellant. I just note that your occupancy costs are a little bit higher. You've given the entirety of the property, 7,300 square feet, to air conditioning.
Sorry, you know what? I thank you for pointing that out. That's an error on my part. So that should be that figure of $7,300 should be reduced to $3,960, and that hence will have an effect on the bottom line.
So you're then accepting what the city has for their
yes,
occupancy
I
costs?
am.
So your actual number then is slightly lower.
Slightly lower than that. I thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you.
So I'm not divisible by 12.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It's also not divisible by 12. Okay, thank you. That'll conclude the matter on that property. Let's move on to the next property, which will be 1400 McPhillips. When you're ready, Arca.
Second. I need to create a report of the test. All right. Subject property file number 195990. Okay. Address 1400 McPhillips Street. Business assessment ID 2083. Owners Jim Goucher, Chevy, Olds Cadillac Ltd. The total annual rental value is $912,240. The premise consists of three premises. Premise 2606, area $40,640 at $12.10 per square foot. Premise 33377, 12,158 square feet at $13.37 per square foot. And premise 33378, with a size of 11,196 square feet at $9.91. Base ARV blended 1196. Total premise area 63,994 square feet. And I am asking the board to maintain the 2020 annual rental value of $912,240. Subject property is another vehicle dealership, and on page 2 we have exactly same comparison as in the previous as was used in the previous file. So we have 27 comparables for retail and 4 comparables for auto related. Page 3 provides pictures of subject properties, street view and aerial view. Page 4 and 5 provides I guess income and expense statement that was sent by the property owner, where it's on page 6, property owner checks off net lease. However, it is a fully owner occupied. As you can see, the top of the page 4, it's check marked as fully owner occupied. And page 5 consists of Board of Revision order for the realty side. And again, on the Board of Revision order, its value was reduced, and the decision.
You have to talk a little louder, or even I can't hear you.
And the decision was based on capitalization rate of 7.75% and the applicant's net operating income. That's all I have. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Yeah. Les?
With respect to the lease information on page 2, would be the same questions that I had first time around. And then, so the Board of Revision order that you supply showed that the realty assessment was reduced from 963,000 to 8,163,000. And that was based on the evidence supplied by the applicant in terms of the NOI and a capitalization rate of 7.75. Do you know what market rent was used to arrive at that value?
Again, I did not have a chance to review fully the evidence or briefs used for the realty side, so I do not know at this point in time. I do not know what market rates were used, and I'll have to state again that yes, the decision was further appealed to the municipal board. Thank you.
But again, we're dealing with the current information. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Lynn?
Yeah, Arthur, could you just tell me what the 3 premises are?
Okay, so premise, I guess I'll give you by the numbers. 2606 is a office. Well, the first 2 premises, they classified identically for the vehicle dealership. They are C2, and the last one is a basement.
A basement?
Yes.
And sorry, the first 2 are?
At what you would typically go for, I guess, C2, they have it. You just take a little bit more information. Let's see. So 11,000. So the basement is. Okay. So the first two are what you would call standard office, retail, industrial.
Office?
Standard office, retail, industrial. So just a standard general code used. And the last one is basic.
Okay, so can I just ask then about you've used then auto services for your comps and retail? Like, is that the similar types of properties, sorry, for premise 1 and 2? Your first two premises, like I'm just asking about the types of premises.
Yes, okay, yeah, I
And
see.
how do they work with the comps that you've brought?
So they further do break them down into subcategories, and they have like automotive centers.
Okay. So it's the same sort of issue. You brought
Yes.
the retail and the auto. Okay, thank you.
Richard?
A comment. Arca,
Yes.
I can tell that we're all struggling to hear you. You've got a very low voice.
That doesn't pick it up much, Eric. You gotta-
Okay.
If you could throw it out a little bit more for us, I'm really having trouble hearing you. Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to confirm, did you say that these comparables are all auto related of some sort? Of the top 27 that you have,
Top 27 are all retail.
but not necessarily auto retail.
No, they're not. There could be anything like Best Buy, Staples, or any other retail outlet.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that. No further questions.
So do you mind if I just add to that a bit?
You go right ahead, Les.
As I understood during the first one that we heard, that just the last four are auto-related.
Yeah, I wasn't referencing those.
Okay.
I was referencing the 27, actually. Okay.
Arca.
Yes.
So on this one, your blended rate is 1196, that you're coming up with, correct?
Correct.
What year is this building built?
Okay. So this building is in. Let's see. Originally it was 1990, and also with some 2006 additions.
So newer than the last one we just dealt with,
Yes.
yet it's got lower rent.
Perhaps economies of scale and the size go into the effect for this.
Well, that's okay. Now, when it came to the appeal, has that been, are you appealing that to the muni board as well, this one?
This one is also an appeal to the municipal board.
Okay. But you didn't review what the board had done on it?
No, I did not.
Okay. I've got some further questions. Les, on with your report, please.
Yes, so to refer to page 2 of my submission, and you'll note that on it, it shows that the assessor's rate that is used is $11.96. We're asking for a reduction to $11.50 per square foot. And that is based on the decision that was made with respect to the realty appeal. And you'll notice on page 4 of my presentation, the right at the top, the decision by the Board of Revision at that time was to decrease the assessed value of this property from $9,963,000 to $8,163,000 based on the net operating income presented by the appellant and an increase in the capitalization rate to 7.75. And on page 4, I present the workup, and based on the evidence that was presented at the hearing of the Board of Revision regarding the realty appeal, the rate of $11.50 was used by the appellant, and inserting a capitalization rate of 7.75%, we arrive at a value of $8,163,000. So, in short, I'm asking for the board to reduce the the ARV to $882,924 after round, and then you have to
Not divisible by 12.
Yeah.
Lynn? No, I'm sorry, Art, do you have questions?
Well, I guess from what I see, just like with the previous file, there is no evidence of comparability to support.
Yes, and my answer is that there are no auto dealerships that are not owner occupied in the city.
Those are all my questions.
Lynn?
No questions.
Richard?
Fine, thank you.
And I am fine as well. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next file. Next file will be 2400. Phillips Street. Once everybody's got it out.
Okay. File number 195766. Address 2400 McPhillips Street. Business assessment ID 33757. Owners Jim Goucher Cognac Buick GMC Limited. So total annual rental value $524,040. Total area for all the premises are 34,852 square feet. There are two premises. Premise 27941 at 29,662 square feet with base area of $13.22, and the second premise, number 33375, premise area 5,190 square feet, base ARP $9,093. And with occupancy cost, again, total annual rental value $520,040. I ask the board to maintain the annual rental value as is. Page 2 provides a street view and aerial view of subject property. Page 3 provides same comparable as in the previous two files for vehicle dealerships. The identical comparables we use for all of the city. And last page 4 provides a court of revision order for the realty side of the realty side appeal of the same property. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Les?
I haven't seen this brief, but I was just presented with this brief here, and I don't understand. So McPhillips is composed of 2400 McPhillips is composed of two buildings, or is it one building? What?
Oh, okay. I see the second, the smaller area of 5,000, the most likely be a mezzanine section.
That's a mezzanine.
Yes.
So the total premise area is 34,852.
Yes.
Give me a second, please. I just got to figure this out here because I had somewhat different figures.
Well, you use the 1150 square foot because you worked it backwards.
So 34. What's the overall base ARV?
Overall base ARV
Yeah.
would be 392,132 plus 51. 39132 plus 51,537 $443,669.
Per square foot, what does that work out to per square foot? It's, I would say it's about 12.
Using the blended rate.
Yeah,
So divide by 1273.
1273, okay. So, referring to my brief, page 2 of my brief, there's an error with respect to the calculation, the city's calculations, but the calculations on the right are correct. So what I'm asking, actually, two figures there. I'm amending my request for a reduction in the appellant's ARV per square foot to $11.28.
1128?
$11.28,
I
yes.
see 1150. Which sheet are you on now?
I'm on page 2.
That says 1150.
Yeah, I'm requesting that it be reduced to 11.28.
Mr. Chair, just on my copy, underneath the 1150, there's a sort of three numbers, 11.2 with, I don't know if you have that, but there was an 11.2 underneath.
It should be 28.
I don't have that.
Okay,
I don't have that.
I don't know why mine does.
It should be 11.28.
That's what it looks like here.
Handwritten or?
Yes.
Yes, it was handwritten,
Oh,
and I've written over it now.
I have it on this,
No, I don't have it here.
but it's not, I don't have it put on the back.
On the back it is?
The last page,
Okay. So that, continue on then. We'll use that
So,
last page.
so again, requesting that amount should be 11.28 at 34,852. That gives you a base ARV of 393,130.
393,130.
30, and then the cost to occupy are 80,000, 342. Equals in our ARV of 473, 472. And again, this is based on this decision that was rendered by the Board of Revision with respect to the realty appeal. And you'll see that on page 4. The value was reduced from $5,901,000 to $4,357,000 based on the applicant's net operating income and the capitalization rate of 7.75%. And then if you turn to the last page, show you the workup. Using a rate of 11.28, cap at 7.75, arrived at a value of $4,357,000. So I'm asking for a reduction in the ARV from 524, whatever that was, $524,040 to $473,472 before rounding.
Perfect.
Okay, well, I just noticed and I asked the board to disregard the last page in my report for the subject property because it actually for a different property altogether. The Board of Revision order on page 4 is for 1,400.
Oh, that's true.
It's true.
Okay.
So please disregard that page.
That's the wrong one. And he has the right one, right?
Yes, so 4 million, someone,
I'm glad you answered that question. I was just looking at the value, saying, what's wrong with the value?
Yeah, that's where I was at.
I didn't look at the address.
so yeah, it was, yes, I used the order from the previous file, and it just happy there. So
1,400 in the village.
my apologies. So,
We'll allow that mistake.
4,657 is
You can still
correct.
ask him the question.
Is the correct board of division for you for the real. Okay, so the questions will be identical similar to before. You chose, I guess you didn't use any comparable evidence to support the value. Is that correct?
Yes, because I mean, again, same answer as before. There are no auto dealerships that are not owner occupied.
Those are all my questions.
Lynn?
I have no question.
Richard?
Nothing, thank you.
On your page 2, where'd you get the 1150 from then?
You know, I was working on it very quickly, and you know, it's not me; it's the computer that made the error.
Oh, the computer made the error.
To
Yep.
Arca, was this decision appealed to the municipal board
Yes, it has.
by the city?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I've got no further. Any information, gentlemen? We're good. Thank you. Let's move on to the next file. The next file will be.
I think we're done. Oh no, one more. Sorry,
Okay,
one more.
2610 Mitchell. Yeah. One second. When you're ready, Erica.
File number 196024, address 2610 McPhillips Street, business assessment ID is 39791, business name Crown Honda, owners 25 North Peak. Area consists of 38,616 square feet with base ARV of $13.33. And with occupancy cost, total annual rental value would be $609,360. I ask the board to confirm the annual rental value as is. On subject property is another dealership. So on page 2, my comparables will be exactly as in previous 3 files. Comparable city users for 2 different vehicle dealerships. So it consists of retail and auto related comparables. Page 3, picture of the subject property review. Page 4, picture of subject property area review. Page 5, Board of Division realty decision with another reduction. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Last questions?
Just the same question.
Same questions as previously? Okay,
Yeah.
follow it up. Lynn, questions?
And Arca, this board of revision realty decision was appealed to the municipal board by the city as well?
I'm sure
Or
it
can
was.
you confirm that?
I confirm it has been appealed.
Thank you so much.
Richard, any questions?
Nothing, thank you.
And I have no further questions. Les, on with your presentation, please.
Same argument as before. If you turn to page 2 of my presentation, I asked for a base ARV of $10.18 per square foot, and that it really is based on a decision that was made by the Board of Revision. And so, if you turn to page 4 of the presentation, at the top, you'll note that the assessment was reduced from $7,204,000 to $4,698,000, and that was based on the applicant's NOI and cap rate of 7.75%. On the last page, have the workup showing how that assessment was arrived, and that was using the $10.18 per square foot. Near the bottom of that page, you'll note that there are some adjustments that are made. So that I'm understanding that there's some extra land that had to be accounted for, and so there's a value of $355,000 for that extra piece of land. And the bottom lines show that the total assessment, how one works it out is $4 million. Based on evidence here, it works out to $4,699,000. As a result, I'm asking for base ARV per square foot to be reduced to $10.18, and the total ARV to be $487,720 before rounding.
Erica?
Well, same questions as before regarding comparables.
Same answer as before. Same answer, okay. Lynn?
I have no.
Richard?
Nothing.
I have at least one question, maybe two of these. The extra land didn't take in the $10.18 because that was just on the $4,344,000. Would there not be a rental value of that extra land, or what was it being used for that extra land?
Well, I'm not sure what it was being used, but normally when the assessment department assesses a property which has extra land, we assign a value. So they look at the land where it's located and they arrive at a value per square foot on that land.
Yes. And that's what they did, $355,000.
Yeah, so that wasn't contested. The land value was contested.
But the $10.18 was not included in that extra land value, is what I'm saying. On the rental. Now they're using the land, are they not?
I wasn't at the property, so I'm not sure. I believe that they probably would be using the land if we're storing their vehicles.
No, maybe not. No, they're not. The extra land was behind it, but it's developable.
Are there any vehicles on that land?
No.
Okay.
Which surprises me. Well, there's a couple vehicles. Parker, would there be a value, a rental value on that land behind, or how would that work at the assessment department?
Well, for business assessment, we look at improvement side of so the rate per square foot is assigned to the improvement. I'm not aware of values being assigned for land that is. I'm not aware of business assessment being applied. Business assessment being applied for land that is being used outside the building.
So you're not aware of the $355,000 worth of land?
No, I'm aware of excess land, but I do not think it applies to business assessment.
So it didn't apply to that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Basically. So it's not applied to the business assessment?
No, it's not.
Okay. We can work it backwards. I've got no further questions. That concludes the matter. Gentlemen, Ryan, I guess you're going to read it. Hold on, Ryan. We'll take a wait then. I appreciate that. Well, and
Thanks, don't forget.
we should do one too. Let's follow the rules.
is getting normal, even though it's been about 3 months.
Nothing's normal anymore.
No.
It's freezing here.
I want you to know that Kara used to do this before COVID. She used to come down and wipe the entire room down before you guys came in.
Well, it's actually,
She was ahead of our time.
I was trying to do something super story, so I know all too well.
I'll get you to just stay standing. Kara's in the story.
Yes, for sure. I just don't want the files to get wet here.
It'll dry quick. It's alcohol.
So please state your name
Ryan Olveros,
and do you affirm the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go to 680 Pembina Highway, and I think that these are all online, right?
Yes.
Let's get this down.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Yeah, no problem. I'm
Organize.
still there too.
And they are in the email box.
Okay. City. Applicant.
Just shut down here. Shut
Let
down.
me know when you guys are ready.
Take me a while to-
This is the old master place.
5 and 6 queued up.
Yep. Is it
Can
5 or
only
6?
do a few at a time because otherwise it gets too crazy.
I queue 2 and then shut them down.
Yeah, me too.
Let me know when you're ready. Richard? Ready?
Good to go.
Lynn, you ready?
I am.
Arca, when you're ready, you can start. When you are ready.
Subject property, file number 195281. Address 680 Pembina Highway, business assessment ID 32343. Business name Port Rouge Auto Center, and owners are FTJL Holdings Incorporated. Annual rental value for all premises $415,860. This consists of 3 premises: premise 12834, premise 19567, and premise 29146. Base ARV for the site area and site ARV for the premises would be for premise for the Dalgo in order from top to bottom. For premise number 1, 4,971 square feet, base ARV $7.38. Premise 2, 7,150 square feet, base ARV $14.74. And premise number 3, 15,420 square feet, base ARV $13.83. Premise is owner occupied. I ask the board to confirm the annual rental value of $415,860. This premise is a vehicle-related premise, so we have comparables. The City of Winnipeg uses 4 vehicle dealerships, and that's same comparables that you heard before, 27 retail comparables and 4 auto-related comparables. Page 3 provides pictures of aerial view and street view for subject property, and page 4 provides a board of revision order for the delivery site of the subject property. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Ryan, questions?
I do, thank you. Mr. Darkanov, would you agree that the land to building ratio for the subject premise, it's lower than what you would see for most auto body shops that sell used cars?
For the I would not agree that it is lower for the auto body shops or vehicle related for used car dealerships. It is not, no, it's typical to have a smaller line to build a ratio. Newer dealerships, on the other hand, will have more land available for displays, but when we go into the used car market, it's not typical that they will have a smaller building land ratio. So.
But they would still want to showcase the cars that they are selling, correct? As much as they can.
Well, I guess the question is like, would the business choose to showcase the vehicles?
Yeah. Yes.
I am not in a position to answer business-related questions for the business.
Okay, let's move to your page 2. Just to break down these comparable rents a little bit more for us. So the comparable rents at 550 Sterling Lion. Not really typical places that an auto dealership, even a used car dealership would typically look. I mean, Sterling Lion, that's across the street from the outlet mall. That's in my mind actually a much more advantageous. That's a more advantageous location. Would you agree with that?
So I'll advantageous location. So and we are talking about which comparable did you bring in was in question. Could you please tell me the number?
So it would be your comparables number 8. What else are we looking at here? And comparables 23 to 25. I think I saw a 5th one in there. And comparable number 27.
I see. Okay. So when we start talking about advantageous locations, Pembina Highway is also a very busy and commercial road. And the comparables that we have here, they do not only consist of Sterling Lion properties, but also have properties on Regent, St. James, Ellis, Leyva, and throughout the town.
Okay, so looking at comparable number 12, that's Polo Park, I believe. Comparable 15, 817 St. James. That's Polo Park as well. That's just another address under that role. Polo Park is it your opinion that, sorry, is it the department's opinion that a car dealership would locate at Polo Park? Again, I'm just trying to figure out the comparability of
St. James Volkswagen is in the area.
St. James Volkswagen is in the area, I agree. But then these comps that you chose, they're Polo Park Mall itself. Sorry, I should say Polo Park Mall.
So those are retail comps. There are retail comparables. The comparable 1 to 27, they are retail. And they, the ones you mentioned, let's see, so that was 1485 Portage, right? And I would side with you that perhaps they are in the mall. I'm not going to check it right now, but regardless, when we use those values to value dealerships, we are looking at the retail side of it, what a showroom would be like. And then we also look at what would auto-related part, like repair garage would look like, and the value is blended. So yes, in here for the comparables 1 to 27, they are all retail. Okay. They could be in a mall, they could be freestanding, and freestanding stores. However, they're retail outlets. built in a similar fashion as to what a car dealership would be built at, with showroom floors, with building materials chosen to build similar types of buildings. That's all I have.
I understand that, but in my mind, a lessee would look at the location when they would choose to pick where to locate their car dealership. Would you agree with that?
Could you say it again?
So when a lessee chooses the location, the lessee, let's say, okay, so the subject premise that we're dealing with, it's a car dealer, it's an auto body shop that sells used cars. Would you agree with me that they would definitely look at the location and determine what's appropriate? So they not only just look at the building, but they would look at the land. So in my mind, anybody who would, any lessee let's just keep it simple, running a car dealership, they would not typically look at a mall to locate it. Would you agree with that? And specifically Polo Park Mall as well too.
Oh, and again, City of Winnipeg, for the most part, car dealerships are owner occupied. So there is no comparables out there to compare apples to apples. So we have to compare apples to oranges in this case. And with respect to subject property, it's located on Pembina Highway, in the hub where the dealerships are located as well. So it is located properly on the Pembina Highway with its own, with the intersection, commercial property, in the commercial section with similar types of businesses. Whereas retail, equivalent retail comparables presented here are located within the hub for the businesses of their choice. No, none of those comparables that we have there from 1 to 27 sell a car. Maybe a toy car. That's it.
Okay. But nonetheless, but like you said, then they do not sell cars. Would you agree with that?
They do not. Okay. The retail stores, the electronics, so I'll even name you some of them. Staples, Michaels, Best Buy, Betland. So those are retail comparables we are looking at as to what the retail portion of the dealership would most likely be leased for had it been a retail store. But this is not, so this is what is being used. There is no, in this city of Winnipeg, there is no market evidence to arrive at net price per square foot for a dealership compared with the dealership. That's I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Lynn,
I have no questions.
Richard,
Nothing.
580 Ebby, that's the back of the property, that Quonset shed?
It is.
That?
It is.
And what's it used for?
Well, it is being used for the business. On my records, I cannot tell you. I do not have a specific usage of the building.
Okay, so same thing with the 15,420 square feet. Is that the service bay area?
Let's see, 15 south. Yeah, that's what it will most likely be. That's without account for the service. And
So it's a repair shop in
Yes.
the back, correct?
yes.
Do you have any comparables on your list that would be repair shops? I know you've got a lot of those that are privately owned.
Yes, we do.
So which one of these would be
none of the comparables.
that you brought?
Well, what we have, because it's a dealership, not we do have comparables for repair shops that we use for repairs only, but in this case, those are the comparables I have. And for auto related, I have some last 4 comparables that have been submitted to this particular file.
So what drives it to become a dealership as such out of this, rather than an automotive repair shop or a body shop? Because
The presence of the showroom, the presence as a showroom space, and the fact that it is a business is selling vehicles rather than repairing customers' vehicles.
you don't think they repair customers' vehicles then? Sport Rouge Auto Body, is it not?
But it also sells vehicles. But I mean, like, there are repair shops.
But is it Sport Rouge Auto Body?
Private property?
Sport Rouge Auto
Yes,
Body, is it not?
it's a Fort Rouge Auto Center.
Right,
So
so body shop.
part of it is a body shop.
Right.
Part of it is
So should that part not be assessed a value the same as any other body shop in town?
because subject property. Oh, if we are to split it into two separate distinct BA numbers, one being auto body repair and another being 100% dealership. But at this point, City of Winnipeg looks at businesses that register as a dealership. They operate as a dealership, so there is a the model treats it as such, and there is no separation. It's similar to any other dealership in the town. All of them, new car dealerships, used car dealerships have a part where they have auto body shop and mechanical shops. For the most part, they just because of the dealership, it's just that's how the city treats it.
When was the first part of Eddie built? When was Eddie built? What was the construction date on that?
Well, I have a range of from 1950 to 2009. So I would take that Samsung was built in 1950. What was built in 1950? I did not do a research to find out exactly.
Would you, do you think that body shop was built in 1990?
I cannot tell you when certain parts of the buildings were constructed.
So you haven't visited this property? Okay, the Abbey property, you're putting that at 738. You haven't seen what they're doing in it. You don't know what they're doing in it. You don't know what the building's like at all, the condition.
I'm not aware.
So where do you come up with 738? I don't see that anywhere in your information that would have a rent of $7.38.
It's a model derived value
Oh, but you didn't give any evidence on that, correct?
on
On the model
the model.
for $7.38. There's nothing in here that shows me $7.38 in what you've given me for lease information.
On the comparable report, right?
Yeah.
They're not.
There's nothing here, 1474 in the bottom. We got 13 and 1250. And those are 1988, 1973. Was this property before the board? Martha?
Yes, it was.
Is it on here? Oh, you did. I'm sorry. I didn't go that far. Okay. Oh, Richard was there. Okay. Decision based on adjusted net operating N7. Okay. Is it being appealed
It is being appealed by Altus.
by Altus? They're appealing. Good. Let's go on to your report, Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, so the subject premise, 680 Pembina Highway, roll number 32343. I just want to bring you all to my page 4. So again, the subject property is best described as an automotive dealership and service center. You can see that provided a breakdown of the the breakdown of the buildings of when they were built. And you can also see that as very low ceiling heights, even that is low even in comparison to other automotive dealerships with the service center. One of them would be on the docket today. Again, so 13-foot wall height for the showroom, that might be okay. Again, it's a used car dealership. I understand that. But definitely for the service areas, we do have very low wall heights. The building itself, the front of the building, it doesn't have the appearance of most car dealerships, and it's older, and the land area for this car dealership is much smaller than what you would see. That is than what you would see from most car dealerships. Okay, so for moving on to page 5, for the premise area, we're using 27,541 square feet. That's the same as used by the taxation department. And I do want to mention as well that I have included photos of the subject premise on pages 10 to 15 of my brief. So what we're applying here, I've provided this board with a number of comparisons actually. The most similar to the subject premise are numbers 5, 7, 9, and 11. And contrary to what Mr. Darkanov has stated, numbers 5, 9, and 11 are the only properties that sell used vehicles similar to the subject. So we do have comparables that would more closely relate to the subject premise. I've included photos of the rent comps in my brief on pages 17 to 22 of my brief. So you could see comparable number 5. That is the auto sales there. You can see it at the back of the photo on Sargent Avenue. Number 9, that is on page 21 of my brief. And the Not Auto Corp on Waverly Street, I'm actually familiar with that lease. It is arm's length. I worked on that for a project at one point. So with that being said, for the rents that were applying to the subject premise on page 6, $9 for the original steel building, $12 for the 1976 edition, $12 for the 2009 rear garage, and $5 for the Quan set. That brings us to an overall base rent of $9.96 a square foot. That works out to $274,245 per annum. Adding the occupancy costs, we come to a rounded ARV of $334,800. That is the value that we're asking this board to reduce the assessment for the subject premise to. And that concludes my presentation. I am open for questions. Thank you.
Archive.
Only 1 second. I'm just scroll through the evidence here.
What page were your comparables on that you used?
They are on page 5 of my brief.
Page 5?
Yes,
Just wait for Arc. I just want to get back to your,
for sure.
make sure those
Looking at 14. So, yeah, let's see.
7.
I'll just ask Ryan a question. It's probably somewhere there, but the comparables you provided,
Yes.
do they have a showroom similar to such a property as well as auto body shop, or?
So I believe from the pictures here, we look on page, and I'm looking at it, I'm going to start with comparable number 5. Comparable number 5. I would say that likely it has a showroom. I can't confirm that for sure, but you could see on the left side of the photo there could be room for it. Comparable number 9.
What page is comparable number 5?
Oh, sorry. Comparable number 5 is on page 19. Okay. Comparable number 9, and again, I'm pointing out these ones because they are what's most comparable. They are what we have placed most of the weight on. So comparable number 9. A second here. That is dealership. You can see that this front portion here likely also has a showroom to it. I wouldn't doubt that it does. I wouldn't doubt that it does include one. Number 11, the Not Auto Corp. Again, and I'm not claiming that I've inspected any of these properties as well. But again, I think we can make reasonable assumptions given the appearance of these comparables that they do include showrooms.
Those are all my questions. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Lynn,
I have no questions.
Richard,
No, thank you.
you're comparable for the knots. What do you have it listed as there? Under type of tenancy?
Type of tenancy, single tenant.
Single tenant.
Yes. So
Was it rented as a warehouse or as a car dealership?
I recall that being stated on the lease agreement that it was rented as a warehouse, but the lease rate might indicate that it could be leased out as a industrial property. It's lower, sir.
Now we're assuming.
Could.
Are we assuming? Or are you aware?
I'm not aware, no.
Okay. Go to your top one on Henderson Highway. You got it as a multiple tenant, correct?
Correct.
Was that a warehouse?
So we're looking at the top one, 949 Henderson. No, that is a Boyd auto body shop.
So it was body shop,
Yes.
not a dealership.
Not a dealership. And sorry, I'll elaborate more. So we've included a mix of comps here, which is why I pointed out the car dealership. So for the auto body shops, that's how we would have determined the rates that we had applied for the service areas.
Okay, so the body shop, what rate did you put for the body shops?
The rate that we put for the body shops, so the additional 1976 portion, that's $12. The rear garage, we had put $12, and for the Quonset, $5 a square foot.
You had two of them, didn't you? 1 second. Quonset, and then you also had the original steel building at $9. 63, the 7150 square feet. You had one at 9 and one at 5. The 1950, you had at $5.
Right, yes.
The other one, the other original steel building, you have at 9.
Mm,
That's part of the body shop, though, is it not that $9 one?
yes, okay, so maybe the additional portion is actually is maybe the showroom.
The showroom, was that not the new addition that was put on?
Yes, it appears that way.
So that would have been the 2000.
The 2009 is the rear garage.
2009.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's go back to your comparables that I was looking at.
Okay.
You said you had the pictures of your comparables in the end?
Yes.
Let's go to those pictures. Takes me a while to rotate down there.
I think there's a shortcut.
Yeah,
Function
nothing's quick for me, let me tell you.
Okay.
What page are you starting?
For the comparables, is page 17.
17. That's what we're gonna start there. But we can actually stop at that other page on page 15. That's one of the constants, is it not?
That is the only concept.
That's the one that's being used for the body shop.
Yes.
Extra. Okay. Then we go to 17. Void auto body. That's a little strip mall, isn't it?
Yes, that is correct. So we're trying to figure out what to apply for the.
So it would be, they wouldn't be paying rent as a, they'd be paying more warehouse rent there, would they not? With this warehouse or strip mall, or you got a restaurant.
And your question was they would be paying more of a warehouse rent?
Yeah,
That yes, I think we can. I think we can say that.
you're one on number one on Portage Avenue, number 2.
Yes,
That was an old service station, was it not?
that is a service station. Yes, and we can tell by the photos here that there are hoists in there, so it operates as a vehicle service garage.
So this is not a car lot in any sense of the word.
This is not a car lot. No, so we're trying. I should have broken it down a bit more, but we use the mix of comps and probably could have put them in a better order, but we were trying to
So
establish
number
transportation.
3 on Oak Point,
Yes,
warehouse.
yes, that's a sturgeon tire. It looks like it might have some finish there to showcase the tires.
But a warehouse would have a lower rental value, correct?
That is correct. Yes,
Your number 4, Main Street, that's the MPIC center, correct?
that is correct. We can expect that one to be more so of a 60-40 office to service center. MPI is a little different when it comes to the service center. I don't believe they have voice.
They don't call it service center, are they, on that building?
Sorry?
They don't call it, they call it a service center in the back. It's not a garage, it's not a repair shop. So
It's where they go to assess the
it's
damages
not,
on
nothing like
vehicles.
we're dealing with today, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
The one on Sargent, what was that?
That is an auto dealership. If you look behind the SO there, it's the. Apologize, I think I got my records next up. I might have put it in this file. Give me 1 second. Which it looks like I mixed up the records when I printed off the comp sheets, but that is an auto dealership that we're referring to.
What was the rent on that one?
The rent on Sargent. We're looking at $9 a square foot.
That was overall.
Overall, yes.
She didn't do a breakdown on those rents on the building.
No, I did not.
King Edward Warehouse, that's the old Void building.
That's correct, yes.
King Edward again, number 7.
Yes.
The one on Maury Street, you really think that's comparable in any way?
I would just expect their service center to operate similarly to Fort Rouge Auto Body Service Center.
Okay. Oh, number 9, that's that Portage Avenue one.
Yes.
What was the rent on that one? That wasn't owner occupied, was it?
That is not owner occupied. No, we typically try to, of course, avoid putting owner occupied rents, but the one on Portage here, index number 9, $5.70 a square foot.
Doesn't that seem a little low?
Sorry?
Doesn't that seem a little low in that area?
It's probably because they are.
Are you sure that's a market rent?
When I was looking through the comps, we always add notes to when we enter these leases. I found no indication that it's an owner-occupied rent. And we begin our process to add these rents at least a year and a half in advance.
Okay. Number 10 will point again, that's warehouse.
Mhm.
Got the truck docks and everything else behind it. Number 11. It's not listed as a dealership, is it? Well, you don't know that. You already asked you on that one. You're not aware, so. You see there was a fast way, look, I can slide it. So the value, ARV is 415,860. What was the rent that they had looked at that you had supplied with the board order? What is the board order? Do you have the board order on yours? The board order on yours?
I do not. It's because I didn't include the board order in my brief because it was based on an adjusted net operating income, so I didn't want to make any claims as to what the board would have applied.
You got a question, Arca?
I do.
I figured you might. Go ahead, Arca.
Comparable number 4, 1284 Main Street. Comparable number 28 on my page, 1284 Main Street. Has 2 different rates. Could you please specify where 1073 per square foot came from, or how did you arrive at that?
So 1284, 1073, and then on yours you used 1950. Okay. So So the monthly tax recovery for 1284 Main Street was $13,925.94. And we removed that because we believe it was it looks like here it's a semi-gross lease. It's a semi-gross lease, and they would have remove, and so semi-gross lease, we're going to remove it from the monthly rent that they pay. So that's how we got to the 1073.
The monthly rate MPI pays, and you remove tax recovery from that. From the net rate, you remove the tax recovery. Is that what you did?
It looks like here it's included in the rent. So you have to remove the tax recoveries in order to get down to the net.
So I guess I do not see the paper, but there is a net rate typically, right? And I don't know exactly how this one is set up, but I don't have the exact breakdown of the tax system, unfortunately. But would the recoveries be what property owner recovers from the tenant when on top of the net rate that is the tenant pays? Because property owner pays the tax themselves, but part of the rent that they have to recover, so they recover it.
So then it would be included in the monthly rent.
Uh,
So the tax recoveries would be included in the monthly rent, then they would they wouldn't incur, they wouldn't get the money from the tax recovery portion of the rent. They would have to remove that so that they recover that portion. Then what you get after is the net rent.
if there is a net rent the tenant pays,
Yeah.
the recoveries typically are on top of that net rent the tenant pays.
Okay, but I did state it looks like it's a semi-gross lease.
But we don't know that. We don't have the
Well,
right?
Actually, I have the notes here, and this is typically our process is if we see that the rent includes tax recoveries, then if it includes tax recoveries, then we would of course remove it from the semi-gross rent that they pay. Because I don't know how much more I can elaborate on this, because with semi-gross rents,
It's the way the province always does it.
sorry?
The province always does it. The province, when they rent something, or NCIC.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to bring it forward to make sure that it's upfront, and that's all I have.
And I got no further
Yeah,
questions.
we'll definitely look into it. I mean, I wasn't aware of that aspect of it, so.
Okay, I'm good. Everybody else good? Let's move on to the next one. The next one, 823 Regent Avenue. It's all a minute to find it on their schedules here. Let me know when you're ready, ladies and gentlemen. Richard's ready. You ready? Mark, are you ready?
And a few more moments.
Or when you're ready.
So file number 195395, 823 Regent Avenue West, Business Assessment ID 6793, owners Auto List of Canada Limited. Premise area is 24,546 square feet, base ARV $10.99. With occupancy cost, total annual rental value is $329,880. I ask the board to maintain the ARV as such. Subject property is another vehicle service, vehicle dealership. And page 2 provides pictures of aerial and street view of subject property. Page 3 provides interior view and view of the front of the building. Next page is comparables city uses for auto-related auto dealerships, and again consists of retail comparables from 1 to 27, and 28 to 31 are auto-related comparables. And last page, page 5, the last page is a board of revision order for the realty side of the subject property. And I guess I'll just bring them forward and state that the board of revision order was further appealed by the city for the municipal
to the municipal board. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Ryan, questions?
I do. Did you inspect the subject premise?
I did not inspect subject permits.
Okay. Are you aware that the service center is not air conditioned?
I'm not aware.
I just want to ask a few questions just regarding that, just for my own education here. How does the city typically determine how much air-conditioned space there is for a subject premise such as this? Like, are there assumptions that are made?
Well, usually it's determined based on the inspection of what areas are air conditioned or not.
Okay. But you haven't, is there a record of this premise being inspected so that the garage portion would be stated as being fully as being air conditioned?
I do not have access to the full records right now, so I cannot answer the question.
Okay. That's all for me. Thank you.
Lynn,
No questions.
Richard?
Thank you.
On with your presentation, Ryan.
Okay, so the subject premise at 823 Regent Avenue West, business roll number 6793. I'm just going to bring you to page 4 of my brief. So this particular dealership, it's a used car dealership. They also sell some new. They also sell new cars as well, but mostly used cars. It's also a service center as well. So it's located on the north side of Regent Avenue, just west of Plessis Road. The subject premise is best described as a used automotive dealership and service center. You'll see a breakdown of the structure. So originally, it was just the one-story, 3,592 square foot portion, 16-foot wall height. The two-story office portion here, and I have inspected this premise myself just 2 days ago. We got a plein air 7,382 square feet. It's two-story office, has a gross floor area of 14,764 square feet with a 12-foot wall height. 2004 portion, 6,190 square feet. So for this dealership, it does have a low land to building ratio as well in comparison to other automotive dealerships. On page 5, I provided further photos of the subject premise, and you can see an oblique version on the bottom of page 5. I'll just take you to the photos in my brief, which are on pages 27 to 29 of my brief. Page 27, that's the showroom page, and on the bottom of page 27, that is the service center. Page 28, I wasn't able to get the entire wash bay. But that's one of the wash bays in there. And there's 4 wash bay areas in the subject premise. Page 29, that's the second floor office space, just to give you an idea of what this property looks like from the inside. So now that I give you that, I'm going to page 6 of my brief. We're applying the same rentable area of 24,546 square feet, the same as what the Assessment Taxation Department has applied. I just want to refer you to page 11 of my brief. We actually saw it in the assessor's brief as well. The Board of Revision accepted our position in full, and I provided our realty brief. And if you look on pages 19 to 20, you'll see on page 19 the comps that we had used for the subject premise for the realty assessment. And again, we applied an overall rent of $9.50 a square foot. And that brings us to, if we go to page 8 of my brief, a base rent of $233,187, adding in the occupancy cost minus the air conditioning area, which I had to take manual measurements myself. We removed 5,279 square feet for air conditioning. Again, that was based on my manual measurements. And that brings us, adding in the occupancy costs, we are asking this board to reduce the annual rental value to $291,540. And that concludes my presentation. I am open for questions.
Sure. Go ahead.
So you stated that you inspected the property, correct?
I'm sorry?
You stated that you inspected the property.
I did, yes.
Do they know the age of the property?
The age of the property, 1996, and the newer additions were in 2004.
So it is a newer building, is that correct?
It is a newer building, that is correct.
Okay. Would typically newer buildings generate higher rents than older buildings?
I would agree with that statement, but then we also have to consider other aspects such as the utility, the location of it. So,
the subject property auto dealership?
Yeah.
Is it located in the hub of the auto dealership on Regent?
The hub of the auto dealership. No, this would be across from the Petro-Canada gas station. It's not. Actually, well, sorry, I guess if you mean by hub, you mean the stretch of region there that has car dealerships and use.
So location isn't an issue, correct?
Location isn't an issue.
So what we have left with is a newer building, correct?
Sorry?
What we have left with is a newer building, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
So with newer building again, I would state with newer building generate higher rents than older buildings.
I'm sorry, can you
Would a
speak
newer
a little
building
slower?
Would a newer building generate higher rent than an older building?
Yes, I would agree with that.
So would you place this building on? Would you compare this building with the newer buildings?
Sorry?
Okay, just give me 1 second. Would you compare this subject property with the newer buildings?
We would try our best, and I can see where you're getting at with the effective ages of our comps here. 1322 Waverly, I mean, again, I know we discussed that earlier. That's renting it for $4.82 a square foot. We made an upwards adjustment as best we could here, and we are within range. So, and again, I do acknowledge that 1322 Waverly, that's an older building. So, and that's on page 19 of my brief.
Okay, so page 19, all of the buildings effective age. The newest one is 1999, right? Lawson, and then the next one is very older. So what is 45 Lawson? What page is comparable is located at?
45 Lawson, that's Maxim Truck and Trailer. That's just off of Sterling Lion.
Okay, what page? Do you have pictures of it on your report somewhere or no?
Not on this one.
Okay. So I guess and the comparables you provided here, just lost it. Here it is. Are they car dealerships or what are they?
Okay, so 1322 McPhillips, that is again the not auto court. 2140 McPhillips, that's all in auto sales. So both comparables number 2 and 3 are located at 2140 McPhillips. One is all in auto sales, an extreme performance exhaust, low lot to building ratio there as well. This is sort of this is my area of town, so there's multiple buildings on this site. for 2140 McPhillips. And sorry, you did ask like what the remainder of the comparables were, correct?
Well, I'm just trying to make sure that comparables are what it is, and the loss on truck and is that a dealership or what is it? Like 45 loss.
No, that's a trucking facility.
So it's not a car dealership. They do not sell trucks or any related issue.
No.
Anything related to that. So is it inferior to subject property?
I don't know if we can say it's an inferior. I mean, it is a truck and trailer. So when we pull these types of rents, it's the fact that we're trying to figure out an overall rent to apply to the entire property. We're trying to figure out what the auto body shop would typically rent for. But for this one, because it was broken down as just 24,546 square feet for the entire premise, it wasn't broken down, I believe, on the assessor side. We had just tried to establish an overall rent to apply.
I'm just looking at the aerial view of the 45 also. It's not a comparable by any means. Just a repair garage with trailers parked everywhere from the looks of it. So which is your best comparable?
Best comparables would be 1322 Waverly. As far as I know, it's a dealership. Yeah. And that would be that would be my best comp, would be 1322 Waverly. Of course, we'd have to make adjustments because of the 1322 Waverly actually line to building ratio on that is 7.89. So,
But is it located in the hub of the car dealerships?
Sorry?
Is it located in the hub of the vehicle dealerships, 1322 Waverly?
No, but I drive down there and it's a high traffic location, and that building itself, it actually sticks out along there.
Okay, so you think that building wise they are very similar, the 1322 Waverly and the subject property, or would you consider subject property by far superior to that particular comparable?
So I understand that. So again, I agree that the subject premise is a lot newer, but 1322 Waverly, I mean, the utility of that comp, I'd say matches the utility of the subject premise, but I mean, yeah, it does match the utility of the subject premise, but again, I'm acknowledging that the subject premise is a lot newer.
Those are all my questions. Thank you very much.
Lynn? Richard?
Just in a general sense,
Yes.
how much weight is put on location? When I look at Regent Avenue versus Pembina Highway, and the differences in the buildings, and the differences in the rents, the differences in the age of the buildings, does location bear a big weight when you're looking at rent?
I would say location is one of the most largest weights when establishing your comparables. Yes,
So
location that's a big concept.
That's a fairly big weight. And if you looked at a Regent versus Pembina Highway, do you have a method to compare those two, a scientific method, or is it what you know is real?
It is what I know as a realtor. I would say that's more so. We would have to make subjective assumptions.
So subjective, kind of from the gut, based on what you know is going on in the marketplace.
Yes, based on experience.
Sure.
I wouldn't say there's any objective way. Every realtor, every tax consultant would place a different adjustment. I mean, you might get a coincidence here and there, but yeah.
So let's put you on the line here a little bit and say, subjectively, from your perspective, Regent versus property on Pembina, do you see a huge difference in the weighting value between those two areas? I'm trying to do my own subjective assessment without your knowledge.
Yes, so of course. So I would say, in my mind, Regent would be the more superior location in comparison to in comparison to 680 Pembina Highway. 680 Pembina Highway, it was mentioned in my brief. I didn't point it out specifically, but there's only a single access point off of Abbey Avenue. But locational wise, I think 823 Regent would be the more superior.
And so with that, then you would assess it a higher rent. All other things being equal.
All other things being equal, but you can see where get the impression because we did apply 996 a square foot.
I didn't want to get into the specifics of what you did and either one. I just sort of wanted a general sense of how you do the process.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you. No further questions.
I have no questions. We'll move on to the next one. The next one will be 1332 vote, correct?
Regent?
1376.
1376 region?
Chairman, may I ask for a quick break?
Sure you could.
I was going to do
I
this.
don't know if I'm going to give it to you, but you can ask.
I'm asking.
I'm going to say that because I take money from them, I should do it live. We're live, okay. In that case, I'm leaving. Want to take the chair for a minute? I'll be back. I'll be back.
Kara, do I have to take the chair? Can I chair from here? Good, because this is where my documents are all opened up. Okay, so then I guess we're dealing with 1376 Regent and Archive.
Subject property file number 195431, address 1376 Regent Avenue, business assessment ID 38352, owners Red River Cooperative Limited. This is a gas station consisting of two premises, premise 31957 with area 2042 square feet and base ARV of $34.54. And premise number two is so premise number one is a convenience store kiosk for the gas station, and premise number two is a car wash for the same gas station. It's 31958, area 2,605 square feet, base ARV $9.42, total annual rental value $105,960. I asked the board to confirm the 2020 annual rental value of $105,960. So there is subject to this information on the same page, and I reported area per subject, which is 4259, and I'll talk more about it. 4259 per square foot, and then we'll talk more about it on the next page. Page number 2 are what they call pad side leases for gas stations. And what we have here is we have 14 comparables with, and when you see SKP is a store, is a convenience store, and DCW is a car wash. So some properties have only convenience stores, some properties have a mix of convenience stores and car washes, and some comparables are pure car washes. Comparable number 12 is a subject property. The annual pad side rent is $114,990, higher than the annual rental value of $105,000. When you break it down into the price per square foot, the storefront kiosk of $2,042 arrives at $42.92 per square foot, and the car wash area at 2,605 square feet and $10.50 rise at $10.50 per square foot, totaling 114,996. So, and the other comparables would also support the prices per square foot provided for comparable subject property. Page 3 provides aerial view and street view of subject property. And page 4 provides board of revision order for the entire realty, which also consists of gas station and the car dealership, as well as the collision center. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Ryan, would you like to have any questions?
I do, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Start writing down that. Okay. So, sorry, Dr. Hanov. So I know you answered these questions before, but for the purposes of demonstrating to this board, the realty calculations for the subject property, they differ from the business assessment calculations. Would you agree with that?
No, could you please elaborate your question?
Okay, so I'll give an example. So for this particular property, for the realty assessment, the pumps, tanks, and canopies, they are separately assessed. Would you agree with that?
They are separately, they are added as give me a second, I'll open it up in front of me. So once so the way they work is once net operating income is arrived, there is also added cost of other structures, which is pumps. So yes, they added at a later point. Yes.
So it is a separate adjustment, just to make it clear?
It is.
Okay. So let's look at your comparables on page 2. I see that you have the subject premise on there. These are all pad leases, are they not?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So they're effectively land leases. Is that? Would you agree with that?
They are land leases, yes.
Okay. So for the pumps, tanks, and canopies, did you? I see here that you've broken it down SKP, VCW. Did you remove the pumps, tanks, and canopies from the rent comparables?
I did not have to.
Okay, because it's a land rent, correct?
Huh?
Because it's a land rent, you didn't.
I didn't have to remove those things from the calculation of rent because the land, the price tenant pays is that side rent. They build additional structures themselves, is at a car wash, pumps, however many they need, store front, whether it's a small kiosk, service and gas station only, or can be a smaller or a bit larger convenience store. So again, serving gas station primarily, and they also providing some convenience items at the store. So with that, there is no need to remove any sort of additional buildings from this point.
Okay.
Okay, again, just so you know, I'm losing your voice because
my
you're talking down
apologies.
and your hand is in the way. Please be conscious that we need you.
I'll do my best.
Appreciate that.
So essentially what you're showing us is a lease on the land, not leases for any particular building. Would you agree with that?
They are leased for the land, yes.
Okay. All right, so now if you go back to your page 1, excluding the car wash, which we're not arguing, but I'll get to that in my presentation. Essentially, what we're left with then is essentially what we're trying to establish a rent for would be the convenience store. Would you agree with that?
No, I would not agree with that. We're trying to establish a rent for a gas station, not a convenience store. And there's a major difference between a gas station, that a storefront that sells primarily gas, fuel for the vehicles, and also provides a convenience store option versus a 100% convenience store. So no, I would not agree with that.
Okay. But if we look at again, we're looking at your page 1, premise area, 2,000, I'm gonna ask this first. You agreed that the pumps, tanks, and canopies are separately assessed, correct?
They are,
For realty assessment
for
purposes.
the realty assessment purposes, they are assessed separately at cost. Yes.
And for business assessment purposes, they are not included. Is
They
that
are not including the value of the cost of fuel pumps and tanks for business assessment. Business assessment is purely based on the square footage of their building as a gas station. So it implies fuel tanks and pumps because it is a gas station. I hope it is a bit clear.
I'm a little bit confused though, because you did agree that the pumps, tanks, and canopies are not assessed for business assessment purposes. So once you remove that from the business assessment, are we not just left with essentially a retail store?
We are left with a square footage of a retail store that sells gas. So we are still left with a gas station. We didn't change a gas station into a retail store. No, we didn't.
But we're removing the pumps, tanks, and canopies for business assessment purposes. So essentially, again,
Alphas is removing, probably. I'm not sure exactly where. This discussion has been going on for probably a second hearing for me, and I'll just state it once so it will be clear. What we have here is we have a gas station. Would you agree with me?
For the subject premise, yes, but in the end, we're like the premise area here, it indicates the 2,000, let me just confirm this, the 2,042 square foot convenience store.
Well, that is what we have, yes. We have a convenience store of 2,042 square feet.
Okay, so he's answered the question.
Okay, all right.
Do you have any more questions, Ryan?
No, that would be all my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions?
Dare I go back into that?
Sure.
I remember when we did this, it was not simple in real assessment.
No,
So just so I'm clear, I don't want to get this wrong. I'm hearing that you have a gas station that includes a convenience store. That's the business we're assessing.
Exactly.
That's what I hear you say.
Yes.
I hear you say in your questioning that we've taken the pumps, the tanks, the canopy off. Therefore, we're not assessing a gas station.
well, essentially what we're left with, if for business assessment purposes, and I believe the assessor did agree to this, for business assessment purposes, the pumps, tanks, and canopies are not included. And the premise area here indicates 2,042 square feet, which is actually just the convenience store. So again, essentially we're left with a retail store.
Perhaps the assessor can.
May I ask a question here, or should I leave it?
Well,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
He's actually, like, we're still asking questions
I
of
know,
the
that's why
assessor.
it's a bit awkward.
Right.
It's a weird discussion. But,
Yeah.
well, let me ask you this then. Is the oil product, the automobile-related products in the building part of the convenience store or part of the gas business?
By oil-related products, are you talking about Yes, I just want to clarify. Fuel that is being put into the vehicle,
No,
or just cans of oil that is being sold in the store?
I'm talking about oil, I'm talking about windshield washer fluid,
Okay.
the
Right.
lubricants, all of that is automobile related. It's
Yeah.
not food, it's not drink.
Yeah, and again, some gas stations have it. Some gas stations resort to consumable goods like chewing gum and candies and some other stuff.
So do you include that automobile related product as part of the convenience store?
Well, I guess
It's not a trick question, honestly.
I know it's
It's straightforward.
because well, the products they sell at convenience store is what the business sells, whether it's automobile related or just any other consumable goods that they choose to sell.
Okay, so as long as I understand what your differentiation is, it's not part of the fuel business. It's part of the convenience business. I don't have to get out of my car and walk a mile to Canadian Tire to get my fuel, my lubricants and all that. It's right there. It's convenient for me to get it right there when I pull up to get my gas.
Exactly. But primarily, your customers are going to fill up the gas.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
I just have a couple questions about your comparables on page 2.
Okay.
Are there other co-ops on this list?
Let's see. So actually, number 12 is a subject property.
Yeah.
And so number 11 is another co-op.
Number 11, okay.
Yes. And
It doesn't have a car wash, number 11 though.
no, it's just small 580 square
Right,
feet.
just a little
yes.
kiosky thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is. And I don't think any other ones are.
What about 5?
5 is a shell.
Oh, okay. The rent is on the car wash is very, well, it's very similar. That's why I'm just looking. So with the exception of number 11, which is just a kiosk, are there any other co-ops that are similar to our subject property?
Co-ops?
Yeah.
No, the list doesn't have any other co-ops.
This is the only co-op.
There's 2 co-ops, 11 and 12.
Okay. I'm just looking at the convenience side rent because it is quite a bit lower. There's only one lower. Number 1 is very similar. Also similar in size. But, and the lease is, longer term too. So I was just looking to see, so which is your, okay. And this is actual, right? This is an actual lease? Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Orca. I have no other questions. Ryan?
Thank you. All right, so the subject premise located at 1376 region, roll number 38352. I've included a photo of the subject premise on page 2 of my brief. On page 3, you'll see an oblique image of the subject. And on page 5, you'll see an aerial view of what we're looking at today. So just to break it down here, it'll be easier if I actually refer you to page 6 of my brief on the bottom photo. So in the, let's call it the middle of the site, that would be the convenience store. At the top of the site that we're looking at, those are actually the canopies, that's the canopy. And then to the right side, that would be the tunnel car wash. Okay. So we're not disputing the premise area applied by the assessment department. So we've provided a range of comparables here. And I can say that comparables 13 and 14, those are, 13 to 15, those are gas stations. I believe 66 Mandalay also has a wand wash included in it. Okay. I believe I included photos of the comparable properties. Okay, yes, so to help us out here, on pages 12 to 14 of my brief, I've included photos of the rent comparables that we're using. So these ones on region, comparables number 1 to 12, we're looking at a rate per square foot of $14 to $26.50 a square foot. For comparables 13, 14, and 15, again, those are gas stations. You can see, starting on page 13 of my brief, I'll just give everybody a chance to, I guess, scroll there. We're good? Okay. 2544 Main Street, that's the SO. 1425 McPhillips, that's Petro Canada. And number 15 is 66 Mandalay. The Wanda Wash is actually located, and 66 Mandalay, that's on page 14. The Wanda Wash is located on the right-hand side of the building there. So before I get to the rent that we established for this, our argument, our position is that, again, I know I've said it quite a few times, the pumps, tanks, canopies, they're excluded for business assessment purposes. The assessor has agreed to that. Also for gas stations, their business is driven on actually people coming in and purchasing maybe a chocolate bar or gum, possibly the oil that they sell there if they sell it there. The gas itself, it is the profit that they actually make on that is actually very low. So they rely, of course, you can tell, driving to a gas station or filling up your car, it's focused on high volumes but low margins when it comes to how much money they actually make off of the gas. So for that reason, and in addition to the fact that it does not include the pump stakes and canopies, essentially what we are left with is the car wash as well as the convenience store. So for that reason, the comparables number 13 and 15, that's just to show you that there are other rents out there. I know 1425 McPhillips, that's one of my favorite gas stations to go to. That does have high volume. 66 Mandalay, I know quite a few people go there too. Not too sure how much volume there is there. But essentially, again, what we're left with is the convenience store. So looking at the retail rents that we've supplied on page 7. So again, those are comparables 1 to 12. We've applied for the convenience store a rent of $27.50 per square foot. We do not dispute the rent applied for the vehicle car wash. For the occupancy costs, we don't dispute the rates that are applied. However, for a tunnel car wash where you have the garage door sort of going up and down constantly, and I've actually been through that car wash once, however, it was in the winter, I think it would be safe to assume to say that that is not air conditioned. So given the rate of $27.50 per square foot, that brings us to an overall rent for the convenience store and the car wash of $17.25 a square foot. That works out to $80,173 per annum. Adding in the occupancy cost, that brings us to our ARV of $90,660 around. And that concludes my presentation. I am open for questions. Thank you.
So, Ryan,
Yes.
it is my understanding that the properties on the region here, they are convenience stores or other retail outlets. Is that correct?
Yes, not just convenience stores. We have a mix. I believe we do.
Would you agree with me that, and you mentioned in your presentation, but I'll ask you again, that like when you look at the gas stations, for example, do they have foot traffic at all, or is it predominantly traffic from customers who purchase fuel?
Predominantly from customers who purchase fuel, but I want to add to that and say that again, they focus on high volumes, low margins. They make most of their money and I know this for a fact, and I do know this, that they make most of their money off of somebody coming in, maybe buying a Gatorade. We know that I've been there. The prices are higher than you would see at maybe a superstore or Walmart.
But that's irrelevant for the assessment. In my opinion, what you have said it relates to like which store has which prices per item. So what I'm asking, my next question would be, since you have established that gas stations have customers predominantly from people who purchase fuel, who drive the vehicle and purchase fuel, pumps, tanks, and canopies are essential for operation of the business. Without it, don't have no customers. Do you agree with me that
Sorry, what's essential for the business?
pumps, tanks, and canopies?
Yes, it would be essential for the business.
So we cannot take it out from business assessment the same way you were talking about it earlier. Would you agree with me?
I wouldn't agree with you because you did say that for business assessment purposes, pumps, tanks, and canopies are not included.
Winnipeg doesn't look at square footage for business assessment purposes. But when you look at value in gas stations, you wouldn't simply value it the same way you would value a convenience store.
Well, in fact, and I haven't seen many gas stations go down, but from listening to hearings, of course, I'm surrounded by many experienced people in my office. They have mentioned to me that once a gas station is assessed to be located, it is possible to leave that convenience store there and have it just operate as a convenience store.
But it's a totally different business then.
But it's yes, yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, then my next question would be as such. On my page number 2, my comparables. By the way, did you inspect such property?
I haven't. I've just filled up gas there, and again, I've gone to the car wash just once.
Okay, so you, for the purposes of you did not. So,
No.
Okay. Would you agree with me looking at page 2 comparables 12 that it is a subject property?
On page 2, that the highlighted portion is the subject property?
Yes.
Yes.
And what is the annual backside rent they pay for that particular location?
$114,996.
Is it more than annual rental value assessed by the city for business?
It is less than what's assessed by the city, but again, it is a land lease. It's not a lease applied to the. It's not a lease for the convenience store itself.
But Red River Co. pays property owner $114,926 annually. Would you agree with me?
I would agree with you, yes.
And what is annual rental value in your interpretation of it?
What's the annual rental value? It's how much the building would. It's how much possibly a landowner would. A landowner tenant would pay for leasing the property.
Yeah. So would you agree that subject property, the tenant pays more to the landlord than what city is assessing?
I would agree with that, yes.
So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sewer Brand?
When I look at your comparables, sorry. I think most of your properties are 201 on your list. What I was at 20 years old. And pretty consistent, I think. Where are we, page 7? Page, yeah, a lot of, almost all of them, except 2 or 3 are 201, right?
Sorry, you said the age, right?
The age.
The age,
The
well,
age. You've got 1 209 at the bottom, you've got 2 206 at the top. Everything else is 201. If I'm reading this right.
sorry, that's not what I have here. I have comparable 1 to 12 on page 7 as 855 Regent and 1570.
Say what?
855 Regent and 1570 Regent, is that?
I think he's asking you about the age of the properties.
The age of the properties.
Oh, I thought I
Effective
heard
age.
Autumnwood, that's why.
Oh, no.
No.
Effective age of the properties. You have
Yeah, they're about 8 years, 3 years, 3 years older.
They all say effective age at 201. Are you on page 7?
Yeah, I am. Because, okay, so the first 2 comparables there, are they both 855 Regent?
Yep. And
Okay.
that's 206.
Yeah, 206, yeah.
And then if you get down to the bottom, it's 66 Mandalay, it's 209.
Yes.
And there are no other dates for number 13 and 14.
No, because those would be, well, okay, yeah, we did add the effective age for 66 Mandalay because it looks like we had access to that.
But I'm looking at all the other ones are 201, 20 years old.
Yes.
Now, when you talk about rent for a premise,
Mhm.
am I correct in saying that typically a new premise should demand a higher rent?
Yes.
That's a typical rule of law, yeah. That
Typical, yes.
have a newer building, it's likely going to attract. Do you
Mhm.
know if any of number 3 through 14 have been updated to what I would call a modern technology? This technology in gas stations is very different today than it was 20 years ago.
Okay.
So do you know if they've been updated technology-wise?
So 1570 Regent, that's actually, those are multiple retail stores, actually.
So what is it, a mall?
It's I would say you could classify this as more of a power center. So we have Sport Checks here, Michael's, we got Tim Hortons. Yeah.
So there's still an older premise then, and you probably don't know, or do you know whether they've been updated with technology? What I call today's shopping experience, as opposed to a shopping experience 20 years ago.
I have seen some exterior for some of the buildings, but I don't think any significant renovations, maybe just to make it a bit more attractive from the outside. But technology-wise, I'm not aware if they've been updated in that sense.
Yeah, so the rents they're charging based on leases, it looks like that's all over the map, isn't it?
And I'll say this too, that I have applied 2750, which is higher than any of the rent comps that I've provided today. So I did consider that adjustment as well because of the age.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
I just have a quick one. Which ones of these are convenience stores?
They're actually a mix of optical centers. It looks like we have an office in there, and nail salon. None of them are really convenience stores. I'm suspecting, none of them are really convenience stores. But again, I should clarify that we are essentially applying a rent to a retail location, not just a convenience store.
There's a broad range of retail.
Right, yeah.
Women's clothing is retail, but I don't think I'd compare it to a convenience store
Okay.
where I can buy a Slurpee.
Right, okay, I would agree with that, yes.
So none of these are convenience stores, the way I think the average person like me would think of a convenience store, right? None of them are? Just
No.
so I know?
Yes.
Okay. I actually have a follow-up for ARCA. Ryan had mentioned air conditioning in the car wash. It's not a big difference here, but I am questioning about air conditioning in a car wash.
Let's see.
Would that be something that, it's minor, but it's something, I'm just wondering.
Typically, I don't think car washes are air conditioned.
Right.
But I also want to just say, so yeah, you have a good point that that area there shows full 2,605 square feet for air conditioner. So without inspecting, I cannot think of
You
sure.
don't know.
But I personally, I don't think it would be air conditioned.
Did you inspect, Ryan, the car wash to see if it was air conditioned, or is that just a guess on your?
That was just a guess on mine, but I've looked at multiple properties, and I'm trained to determine which ones would typically include air conditioning.
So we don't have any evidence, strong evidence from you that it's not air conditioned at this point. It's just your assumption.
It's just my assumption, but I think we should consider that it appears that might be assumption on the assessment departments too, with all due respect, of course.
Okay, I have no other questions. Thank you. We should be frozen.
Yes, ma'am?
Of course.
$13.30 Dougal, is that the next one? $13.30 Dougal it is. Arco, when you're ready, you can go ahead.
One. So file number 195180, address 1330 Dugal Road, business assessment ID 2507, owners Transcona Trailer Sales Limited. Premise consists of 21,574 square feet, base ARV $11.80. With the occupancy cost, total annual rental value is $302,460. I ask the board to confirm the 2020 annual rental value. And to state further, on the report here on my first page, it says owner occupied. No, it should be owner occupied. Yes. Premise is owner occupied. Therefore, the rent that provided on the for the subject property would be considered a book rent. So, subject property is in a sense a dealer for recreational vehicles. So what recreational vehicles? So what we have are trailers, recreational vehicles, and when I say trailers, it's from the looks of it, it's what they call house trailers, the campers. So yeah, page 2 and 3 provide pictures of the subject property, both aerial, outside, and inside. Retail, front of the retail as you walk in is front of the building when you walk in is a retail with a tiled floor, high ceiling. To the side you would have offices with mezzanines over it. The back of the building is parts and service section of the business. So on page 4, we are addressing it similar way as we would address a dealership. So we have a retail section consisting of 27 comparables and auto-related 4 comparables related to that. Followed on the last page is the Board of Revision order for the realty aspect of the subject property. That is all I have. Thank you very much.
Questions, Ryan?
I do. Just going to the order, just with reference to the order. This city didn't appeal the decision, did they?
No, the decision is not appealed.
Okay, so just want to ask you these questions here. So would you agree with me that these vehicles that they sell, trailers, RVs, they are more seasonal in nature? Seasonal meaning these types of vehicles aren't really bought all year round.
Certain vehicles are associated with certain seasons. Yes, there are vehicles for winter season, there's vehicles for summer season, and certain things would probably be year round. Like RV trailer would most likely have a year round sale, whereas, but yes, certain vehicles, recreational vehicles, would certainly have a seasonal aspect to it.
Okay. So, and another general question, we don't see as many trailers on the road as we do cars, correct?
No, we do not.
All right. So, looking at your comps on page 4. These are all retail rents, of course, at the comps number 1 to 27, they're all retail rents?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And you'd agree with me that these retail premises, they would be, in comparison to the subject, they would be fully finished. Did we? We don't have a break. We don't have on your page 1. You haven't broken down if a different rate was applied for the showroom retail portion and the vehicle service garage. Did we? Is that an overall rent that we applied, or that you applied, or is it all?
Vehicle service garages on the model, they are using a blended rate.
and to determine the rent that may have been applied on your, to determine the rent that may have been applied to the vehicle service garage. Am I correct to assume that those are for pages, or for comparables 20 to 31?
And those are for vehicle related, yes.
Okay. Those are all my questions.
Lynn?
After you mentioned that the decision was not appealed by the city, was it appealed by Altus or anyone else?
No, there is no municipal board
No
appeal.
further appeal? So the rates that you're including in this, do they reflect that reduced value by the board?
The rates that I'm using do not reflect the reduced values.
So they're still at the pre-appeal.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Richard?
Nothing, thanks.
Arthur, why is it not following the appeal?
Excuse me?
Why is it not following the appeal? They do, don't they? Especially if it's not challenged.
I don't know what the usual process is. I cannot answer yet at this point. However, I see your point that if it hasn't been appealed, that perhaps it would follow the Board of Revision order. So I cannot answer the question, the true reason why, but I agree with you that yes, perhaps I am aware of, but not 100% that whether they follow or not.
It just didn't. You never made the adjustment. Okay.
Can I redirect the question as well?
Sure.
Okay, so Arkai, I'm a little confused. I get confused too, unless there's new evidence that's brought up that would show that your assessment is supported. Again, it wasn't appealed by the city, and then yeah. So I just wanted to make sure of this, because I did contact you with regards to this property, looking for the rates that were applied for the Board of Revision. So my question is the same as to why the assessment department, unless there's new evidence, I understand that new evidence can present itself. Why the business assessment wouldn't follow the realty?
Well,
I'm all for new evidence. I'm just curious.
yeah. So to answer the question, I'm curious myself. I am new in the section, and with since you guys asked, but with I guess everybody being there was a bit of miscommunication because of that, because of I guess evidence and a bit of lack of communication. That's probably my best answer.
I'll leave it at that. Ryan, on with your presentation.
For sure. So the subject premise, it's located at 1330 Dugald Road, business roll number 2507. I'll skip on to page 3 of my brief. So this premise, it's best described as a recreational vehicle dealership and service center on the south side of Dugald Road, and it's just south here of the Dugald Road and Terracon Place intersection in the St. Boniface Industrial Park. So the subject building, it was originally constructed in 1995, and there was an addition built in 2005. You can see that on there's a red circle there. The addition is on the northwest side of the building. That's part of the showroom. So.
How do you go on to the issue that you feel?
And I'm going to say this now because it will lead into 1350 Dugald Road. 1350 Dugald Road. The number that the board applied wasn't exactly our number, so I'm just going to cover it here if that's okay. I understand that this should be a straightforward one, but to get it through now, I'm just going to bring up a few points here. So
Why are you bringing up 1350?
1350, it's the sister property.
And it was at the same appeal?
Sorry?
It was appealed as well?
It was appealed as well, yes, and it's the same case for both. So it's up to the board. I can keep this one straightforward and talk about it in 1350, or I can talk about it now.
Go ahead. You guys okay with that?
As long as I keep them straight.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Okay, so of course, with the discussions with my client, again, other and my colleagues, this premise wouldn't exactly attain the rents that would be applied as the assessment department has. They wouldn't be able to get the retail rents, and I have that on good authority by my client actually saying that they could not afford this one. They would not be able to afford the rent that's established by the assessment department, simply because of the business they run. They just wouldn't be able to sustain it. And we did interview our client with regards to that. So that's just my main point here. So with that being said, we have applied an overall rent for 1330 Dugald of $9.27 per square foot. You can see, and you already saw it on the assessor's brief on page 12. I've included the board's decision and the basis of their decision on page 13. And I've included our entire brief as well on page 18 of my brief. So with that being said, we are asking that the board reduce the ARV to $247,860.
Questions, Erica?
So,
Just keep turning the page.
wish scroll through them. Let's see. Just a couple of quick questions. So the comparables you're using, are they, what type of business are they?
They are more industrial in nature. We have, I believe it's a trucking company, rentals. Yeah, no, these are all essentially, yeah, they're all industrial in nature. But we know from, and I can tell you that some of these premises do have some office finish. I do see here though that we don't know the office finish for the premises at 1325 Dugald. So that, in my opinion, would account for the showroom portion, the fact that we have the office. Because again, and it's in my brief, this subject premise is mostly industrial in nature. Only the front of it would be considered retail, you can say.
Yes, thanks. So my next question is, so subject property is...
Gotta speak a little louder.
Okay, subject property location. Is it located in some sort of a mini hub for this type of business?
No, it's in St. Boniface Industrial. So, but they locate in these locations because the rent is cheaper. It's a rent that they're able to sustain.
Well, I guess, but when we look at the type of business subject property operates, which is recreational vehicle, it is located on Dugald Road. There's other businesses that
operate similar type of operation with recreational vehicles. Would you agree with me?
I would agree with you, but it looks like I guess we don't have the record of those, so we chose what we could from off of Dugald Road and
Yeah, no, I'm not saying to use it as a comparable, but all I'm trying to establish is the location that such a property is appropriately located for the type of operation it has.
I think he
Yeah.
answered that question
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
All done, Arca?
I'm done.
Lynn,
I have no questions.
Richard,
Nothing, thanks.
and I've got nothing. Let's move on to the next property at 1350. Is that correct? Arca, when you are ready.
This file number 195181. Address 1350 Dugald Road. Business assessment ID 2508. Owner Runs Marine Limited. Premise consists of ARV of $330,540, consists of 3 premises. Premise 1, 17,461 square feet at $10.77 per square foot. Premise 2, 6,000 square feet at $11.77 per square foot. And premise number 3, 2,700 square feet at $5.60 per square foot. Subject information, again, same as the previous one. Is it owner occupied? Yes, it is. It should say yes. Then my recommendation for this property is to reduce annual rental value to $302,760 to account for premise 31756, which is number 2, 6,000 square foot premise.
What was that number?
$302,760. Premise 31756, 6,000 square feet premise. Base ARV was reduced from 1177 to 773, as well as occupancy related items were removed. And now it only has heat and electricity. So water and air conditioner occupancy costs were removed from that calculation. Subject is this property is very similar to the one we already discussed, 1338 Dugald Avenue. And it just this one has an extra building. And we'll go into it a bit further. So page number 2 has same comparable City of Winnipeg uses for vehicle auto dealerships. Subject property is a recreational vehicle dealership. So page 3 provides pictures of subject property with 2 buildings. One having address 1350 and another having address 1354. 1350 is a retail section, office section, and repair section of the repairs in the rear of the building for the business, and 1354 is used primarily for storage. And 1354 accounts for its 31,756 and 27,9662. So 1354 has 6,000 square feet and 2,700 square feet. Storage only. Part of the building is heated, part of the building is not. So, again, further pictures were added related to subject property. All right, so page 4 and 5 provides a storefront of the subject property and the service window, service section window within the storefront. Page 6 is a view from the mezzanine. Page 7 is a picture of a mezzanine. Page 8 and 9 are pictures of the service section. Page 10 and 11 are pictures of the secondary building, which is used for storage. Page 12, Board of Revision order, at which time this area of the subject property was in question, but appellant no longer questions the square footage of the premise. So the Board of Revision order for the realty was issued under the circumstances when the square footage for the area was under question. Appellant was arguing for a smaller square footage. And again, page 14 and 15 provide a topical view of the evidence of the square footage, no longer necessary, but if you are to look at page 14 and page 15, you can see that page 15 has the secondary building has an additional area built to the south part of it, as a tail end. And that was a square footage under question. And that picture, my report ends with a copy from the building plans. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Questions, Ryan?
Yeah, just some additional questions actually. Did you review the realty assessment at all?
I did not have a chance to fully review the realty assessment, so I can probably speak to part of it. But
okay. The comps that you've provided here, these are only a sample set of comps that the model would have used, right?
yeah, I would have to say that I cannot speak 100% as to what model would have used.
Okay, fair enough. I was going to make something more clear with regards to the volume of cars and prices of trailers, but since it's a little different than what I expected, that's fine. So I have no further questions.
Lynn?
You mentioned the square footage.
Yes.
So the square footage now, there's agreement on.
Yes. So the square footage presented on page 1 of my report, to my understanding, is no longer an issue.
It's no longer an issue. Okay. So it's correct in your report then. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This Board of Revision, has it been appealed?
Just double check. Oh, there is no appeal to the municipal board.
No appeal by either party.
No.
And so it has a reduced assessment, right?
It does, but we had up until a couple of days ago, we still had I guess a question of proper square footage.
And so you've got this recommendation then that's in line with the Board of Revision decision?
This is
And the square, well, obviously square footage isn't an issue.
so this recommendation is purely based on changing property characteristics for premise number 31756. So I do not think it falls in line with the Board of Revision order.
To account for PID 31756 base rent of 773. So that's your recommendation to reduce it to that, right?
Yes.
Based on, you've got in your report 1177 and you're suggesting it go down to 773.
Yes.
Okay, and then occupancy costs for heat and electricity only, and also no water.
So that particular premise, to my understanding, does not have water or air conditioner.
Okay, okay, thank you. I just wanted to
Yes,
understand.
it's a secondary storage building we have to.
Okay.
Okay. Richard?
No questions.
Okay,
So you're dropping the rent down to 773
on that one,
for one premise.
for one premise, not for the whole premise. But 773 was the value of the rent that it was when the board heard it. Is that not correct?
No,
the whole?
when the board heard it, it was 1177.
They'd gone with 1177?
No,
The board had gone with 775, hadn't you, or something like that?
I didn't review the DOT decision to the point where to determine what rate exactly the board arrived at. But at the time of the realty decision, realty presentation by the assessment and application department, the values per square foot would have been 1077, 1177, and 560 respectively. And my recommendation today is to keep to use base ARV at 1077, 773, and 560.
1077, 11,
773 and
560,
yes.
which gives you an overall rent of 1047, right? 1040? No.
With this new value, 954 is a blended rate.
954. Okay. On with your presentation, Ryan.
Thank you. So the subject premise located at 1350 Dual Road, roll number 2508. I'll move on to page 4 of my brief. I've provided a breakdown of the subject premise here. So it was built between the years 1985 to 2016. The assessor and I did both inspect the property. Originally, he had 6,000 square feet by C. He made for the storage building. He made the adjustment to not include water or air conditioning for that. So that's fine. Going on to pages, actually, I will direct you to a few photos that I took of the subject premise on pages 11 to 15 of my brief, or pages 11 to, got a few here, pages 11 to 20 of my brief. We can see some exterior shots of the subject premise on page 11. We got the rear portion of the main holding on page 12. Page 13, I provided photos of the showroom area. Page 14, the top photo, trying to get a shot of the offices, but there was a lot of product. And on the bottom of page 14, that's the parts and services location, parts and services that's located on the back portion of the showroom. I have photos of the mezzanine on pages 15 and 16. And 17 to 20 would be the service garage as well as the storage building. So just to shed some light on the decision, I know it got a little confusing there. On page, I provided the board order. You see it from the assessor's brief, actually. But just to direct you to page 34 of my brief, we did argue for 2,222,000 rounded. Now, I'll acknowledge that we did make an error here. The leasable areas that were applied were 16,200 and 6,000 square feet. However, the board, it appears, accounted for that discrepancy, which is why the board for that hearing applied 610,000. However, I have stayed consistent with the argument that we made for the realty assessment. I provided the same comps that I have on page 5 of my brief as I did for 1330 Dugald. All comps, they're located on Dugald Road in Niagara. So with that being said, just moving on to my valuation, we're on a bit of a time constraint here now. So for the showroom and vehicle service garage, we've applied $9.50 a square foot. For the original storage building, that's $4.25 a square foot. And for the storage addition, the 2,700 square foot portion, we've applied $4.25 a square foot. And mind you, the storage addition, does not include heat, water, or air conditioning. So I think we're being more than fair with applying the same rate that we did for the original storage building, which does include heat and hydro, actually. So with that being said, we're asking the board to reduce the ARV to $256,020. And that concludes my presentation. I'm open for questions.
Questions?
I guess one quick question came up before. The comparable, the use the same as for 1330. You mentioned that. So, and again, what type of comparables are they?
They're mostly industrial in nature.
They don't have, so they don't have offices or showrooms for the most part, right?
I suspect that there is. We haven't confirmed that, but some industrial properties, we can say that they would have some industrial portions. And I actually show that on my rent comparable page, that we have considered some properties, specifically 1333 Nahaqua, comparable number 2, and comparables 8 and 9, that it does include some office finish or 100% office finish. Them being flex warehouses. And I provided photos of those in my appendix as well on 40 onwards.
So you use the Subaru dealership photo in Waverly?
Yeah, so that was in preparation because after reviewing the realty brief, it was our opinion that it appears that the assessment department was taking into account car dealerships. However, just keep it simple. This is far from what you would see in an auto mall. But that was just in preparation because the realty assessment, the assessor working on it at the time had included rents for car dealerships, which is why I asked the assessor if he had reviewed the realty brief and if there were additional comps that we maybe do not know that the model has taken into account. And
I'll just ask you a few more questions then. Because Subaru dealership, is that a net rent?
sorry?
For the Subaru dealership that you originally, is that a net rent?
So
Which Subaru dealership is it?
There is a last page 47, 46, all pictures of the Subaru dealerships.
What's the address on it?
It says Waverly Street.
So again, that was in preparation, that it was our opinion that car dealerships were going to be taken into account for the business assessment because they were taken into account for the realty assessment. And I was going to show the board how not comparable the car dealerships are to the subject premise. But that argument is gone now because of course it's not included in his brief.
Got it.
I see. So it's not part of your comparables, right?
No, it is not.
All right, that's all. Okay, that's all. Okay, thanks.
Sorry to give a 50-buck answer to a $2 question.
There are no further questions, gentlemen. So we will call it a day. That concludes the matters. Thank you.